Dr. Keiko Yamada stood at the airlock door and took a deep breath. Behind that door was Harmony 7, the first alien space station she would ever visit. Behind that door were beings from other worlds who had never met a human before. She adjusted her blue jumpsuit and checked her translator device one more time. Everything had to be perfect. The door opened with a soft hiss. Cold air rushed past her face. The corridor beyond was bright, almost too bright. The walls were smooth and white, curving gently upward. Everything looked clean and soft, with rounded edges and no sharp corners anywhere. It reminded Keiko of a hospital, but somehow more gentle. A group of aliens waited for her in the corridor. Keiko tried not to stare, but it was hard. They looked like rabbits, large rabbits that stood on two legs and wore uniforms. Their fur was gray and white. Their ears were tall and moved constantly, and their large eyes watched her with obvious fear. One of them stepped forward. He was smaller than the others, younger perhaps. His gray fur had white patches on his chest, and he wore a dark blue uniform with silver marks on the collar. His ears were standing straight up, but Keiko could see them trembling slightly. "I am Commander Velix of the Lepori Defense Corps," he said. His voice came through her translator as high-pitched but firm. "I have been assigned to ensure you follow all station protocols during your stay." Keiko smiled and bowed slightly, the way she did with nervous students. "Thank you, Commander Velix. I am Dr. Keiko Yamada. I am happy to meet you." Velix's ears twitched. He looked confused for a moment, as if her response was not what he expected. "Yes, well, you must understand that this station operates under strict rules. The Galactic Concordance takes security very seriously." "Of course," Keiko said. She kept her voice soft and warm. "I will follow all your rules carefully." "You will stay in designated areas only," Velix continued. His little paws were clenched into fists at his sides. "You will not approach other personnel without permission. You will eat only in your assigned quarters. You will—" "Commander Velix," one of the other Lepori interrupted. This one was older, with graying fur around his muzzle. "Perhaps we should show Dr. Yamada to her quarters first." Velix's ears flattened slightly. "I am following proper protocol, Senior Officer Tharn." "I know," Tharn said gently. "But our guest has traveled very far." Keiko watched this exchange with interest. Velix was trying so hard to appear in control, but his fear was obvious. His ears kept moving. His nose twitched constantly, and he would not quite meet her eyes. She had seen this behavior before in her students when they gave their first presentations. They would speak loudly and quickly, trying to hide their nervousness behind confidence. "I would appreciate seeing my quarters," Keiko said. The journey was long. Velix nodded quickly. "Follow me. Stay close. Do not touch anything." They walked through the corridors of Harmony 7. Keiko noticed that all the other aliens they passed quickly moved to the far side of the hallway. Some ducked into doorways. A few made small squeaking sounds. Everyone stared at her with wide, frightened eyes. She understood why. To these people, she was a predator. Her eyes faced forward, designed for tracking prey. Her teeth included sharp canines meant for tearing meat. Her body was built for endurance hunting, for chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Every part of her was a reminder that humans had spent millions of years as hunters. But Keiko also noticed something else. These aliens were not just afraid. They were curious too. Their ears would turn toward her even as they moved away. Some of them whispered to each other as she passed. One young Lepori actually stopped and stared until an adult pulled them into a room. Her quarters were small but comfortable. The bed was low and soft, covered in white fabric. There was a desk, a chair, and a large window showing the stars outside. Everything was rounded and smooth, just like the corridors. "You will remain here unless I escort you elsewhere," Velix said. He stood at the door, his posture rigid. "Meals will be brought to you. Do not leave without permission." "Commander Velix," Keiko said carefully. She sat down on the chair, making herself smaller and less threatening. "May I ask you something?" His ears stood up straight. "What?" "Have you ever met a human before?" "No," he said quickly. "But I have read the reports. I know what your species is capable of." "What am I capable of?" Keiko asked. She was genuinely curious about what these reports said. Velix's nose twitched rapidly. "You can run for hours without stopping. You can track prey across vast distances. Your grip strength can crush bone. You can survive in extreme temperatures. You eat meat." He said that last part very quietly, as if it was shameful to mention. Keiko nodded slowly. "All of that is true. But may I tell you something else that is true?" Velix looked like he wanted to leave, but his curiosity kept him in the doorway. What? I am a teacher, Keiko said. On Earth, I teach young people about biology and life in the universe. My favorite part of teaching is watching my students discover new things. I love seeing them grow more confident in themselves. Velix's ears moved forward slightly. Why are you telling me this? Because you remind me of my students, Keiko said with a gentle smile, especially on the first day of class when they are nervous and trying to appear brave. Velix's fur puffed up slightly. I am not nervous. I am a commander of the Defense Corps. I can see that, Keiko said. And you are doing your job very well. You speak clearly. You stand tall. You make sure I know all the rules. That takes courage, especially when you are afraid. I am not, Velix started to say, but then stopped. His ears lowered. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who has spent many years watching people try to hide their fear, Keiko said. You are doing better than you think, Commander. Velix was quiet for a moment. His ears moved in different directions as if listening to sounds Keiko could not hear. Finally, he said, the Council was not happy about bringing a human here. Many wanted to refuse your planet's request to join the Concordance. They said it was too dangerous. But you came to meet me anyway, Keiko said. It is my duty, Velix replied. His voice was softer now, less rigid. The Lepori have always followed our duties even when we are frightened. That is very brave, Keiko said. Velix looked at her directly for the first time. His large eyes were dark and deep. You do not act like a predator. I am a predator, Keiko said honestly. But I am also a person. Just like you are prey, but you are also a person. We are more than our instincts, Commander Velix. He thought about this for a long moment. Then his ears relaxed just slightly. I will bring your meal in 1 hour. It will be plant-based. We do not have the other kind. Plant-based food is fine, Keiko said. I eat vegetables every day at home. You do? Velix sounded surprised. Of course. Humans eat many things. We are omnivores. I will research that word, Velix said. He stepped back into the corridor. 1 hour. Stay here. But before the door closed, Keiko saw something that made her smile. Velix's ears were standing up with curiosity now, not fear. His nose had stopped twitching so rapidly. And unless she was mistaken, he looked less tense than when they first met. It was a small change. A tiny step. But Keiko had been a teacher for 15 years. She knew that every journey began with small steps. Every frightened student who became confident started with one moment of connection. She looked out the window at the stars and thought about the work ahead. This station full of prey species feared what they did not understand. But fear could become curiosity. Curiosity could become understanding. And understanding could become something remarkable. Commander Velix was trying so hard to be brave, to be strong, to face his fear. He was like a cub trying to roar, not knowing that his attempt at courage was already something to be proud of. Keiko would make sure he knew. She would make sure all of them knew. Because that was what teachers did. They saw potential where others saw weakness. They celebrated effort as much as success. And somehow she thought that might be humanity's greatest strength of all. 3 days had passed since Keiko arrived at Harmony 7. She had spent most of that time in her quarters, reading information about the Galactic Concordance on her datapad. Commander Velix brought her meals 3 times each day, always staying exactly 60 seconds before leaving. He asked no questions and gave no extra information, but Keiko noticed that each time he came, he looked at her a little longer before departing. On the 4th day, everything changed. Keiko was reading about Lepori social structures when her door chimed. This was unusual. Velix always came at specific times, and it was too early for the evening meal. Come in, she called. The door opened, and Velix rushed inside. His ears were flat against his head. His fur was standing on end, and his eyes were wider than usual. Dr. Yamada, we have a situation. Keiko stood up immediately. What is wrong? The food synthesizers, Velix said quickly. His words tumbled over each other. 3 of them have malfunctioned. The engineering team says it will take 5 days to repair, maybe 6. We have emergency rations, but they are limited. The station has 462 personnel. We will have protein shortages. I see, Keiko said. That is concerning. How can I help? Velix's ears twitched. You cannot help. I came to inform you that your rations will be reduced like everyone else's. It is only fair. Of course, Keiko agreed. I would not expect special treatment. There is something else, Velik said. He looked uncomfortable. The senior officers are meeting now. Some of them are worried about you, about me, Keiko asked. Why? Velik's nose twitched rapidly. Because humans can hunt. Because when protein is scarce, predators become more dangerous. At least that is what the reports say about predatory species. Keiko understood immediately. The crew was afraid that hunger would activate her predator instincts. They thought she might attack them for food. Commander Velik, I need you to understand something very important. What? He asked, his body tense. Humans do not lose control when we are hungry. We have rational minds. We make choices. I would never hurt anyone on this station, no matter how hungry I became. But the Kresh, Velik said, they are predators too, and they attack when they want resources. How are humans different? Keiko sat back down and gestured to the other chair. Please sit. Let me explain something about Earth and about hunting. Velik hesitated, then sat on the edge of the chair. His posture was ready to jump up and run at any moment. Humans learned to hunt millions of years ago, Keiko began. But we did not hunt like the Kresh. We could not overpower large animals with strength alone. We were not fast enough to catch quick prey, so we had to become smart. We had to be patient. We learned to track animals by reading signs in the dirt and plants. We learned to work together in groups. We learned to plan and to wait. Velik's ears turned forward slightly. He was listening, even though he was still afraid. Hunting for humans was never about violence, Keiko continued. It was about understanding. We had to understand the animal we hunted. Where did it go for water? What did it eat? How did it move? We had to respect the animal's intelligence and adapt to it. The best hunters on Earth were always the ones who could think like their prey. Think like prey? Velik asked. His voice was uncertain. Yes, Keiko said. If I wanted to hunt a deer on Earth, I would have to understand how a deer thinks. What frightens it? What attracts it? Where does it feel safe? Hunting is about knowledge and respect, not just killing. Velik was quiet for a moment. His nose stopped twitching quite so fast. I never thought about it that way. May I show you something? Keiko asked. Something that might help with the current situation? Show me what? Velik asked suspiciously. How to hunt problems instead of animals, Keiko said with a small smile. 30 minutes later, Keiko and Velik stood in one of the station's engineering sections. Senior Officer Tharn had given reluctant permission for Keiko to examine the broken synthesizers, but only with Velik present at all times. The machines were large, complex devices with many panels and glowing displays. 3 engineering technicians worked on them. These aliens were different from the lepri. They had feathers instead of fur and long, thin fingers. They looked like birds that had evolved to walk on 2 legs. They were called the aviari, Keiko had learned. One of them, whose feathers were bright blue, looked up nervously as Keiko approached. Please stay back from the equipment, she chirped. I will, Keiko promised. I just want to observe. May I ask what went wrong? The aviari engineer's feathers ruffled. The protein synthesis chamber in all 3 units failed at the same time. We have never seen this happen before. It makes no sense. All 3 at once? Keiko asked. That does seem unusual. It is impossible, another engineer said. This one had green feathers, unless there was a power surge, but the power systems show no problems. Keiko walked slowly around the machines, careful not to touch anything. She looked at the displays, at the connections, at the floor beneath them. Velik followed her closely, watching everything she did. Commander Velik, Keiko said after several minutes. What do you see? What? Velik looked confused. I see broken machines. Look more carefully, Keiko said. Imagine you are tracking an animal. You look for signs. What signs do you see here? Velik's ears moved uncertainly. He looked at the machines, then at the floor, then at the walls. I do not understand. The dust, Keiko said, pointing to the floor. Look at the pattern of dust around each machine. Velik looked down. The floor around the synthesizers had thin lines in the dust, almost like trails. What does that mean? It means something moved here recently, Keiko said. Something small, probably maintenance robots. See how the trails connect all 3 machines? They follow the power conduits in the floor. The blue-feathered engineer gasped. The cleaning robots. They were reprogrammed 2 days ago with new patterns. Check the power conduits under the floor, Keiko suggested. I think you will find damage where the robot scraped against them repeatedly. The engineers looked at each other, then quickly opened a floor panel. Inside, the thick cables that carried power to the synthesizers had obvious scratches and worn spots. The insulation is damaged, the green engineer said in amazement. This must have caused microsurges in the protein chambers. How did you know? I followed the signs, Keiko said simply. Just like tracking an animal. You look for what does not belong, for patterns that seem wrong, and you follow them to their source. Velix stared at her. That is remarkable. It is just observation and logic, Keiko said. Your species must use similar skills. How do Lepori find safe places to build warrens? How do you know when weather is changing? You read signs in your environment. Velix's ears stood up straight. We do. We watch how plants grow, how wind moves, how soil smells. We learn to see patterns that others miss. Then you are already a hunter, Keiko said with a warm smile. You just hunt different things. You hunt safety. You hunt good land. You hunt knowledge. I never thought of it that way, Velix said quietly. Over the next 2 hours, Keiko worked with Velix and the engineers to check other systems on the station. She showed them how to track problems by looking for patterns and connections. Velix proved to be a quick learner. His natural Lepori instincts for noticing small details made him excellent at spotting potential issues. At one point, Velix found a cooling system that was working too hard. By following the heat signatures, he traced the problem to a blocked air vent 3 rooms away. When he cleared the blockage, the system returned to normal. Keiko applauded. Excellent work, Commander. You found it faster than I could have. Velix's ears turned pink under his gray fur. Really? Really, Keiko said. You have good instincts. You notice things. That is the most important skill for any kind of hunting. But I am prey, Velix said. We run from danger. We do not hunt it. You track danger so you can avoid it, Keiko pointed out. That requires the same skills as tracking anything else. In fact, prey animals often notice things predators miss because you must always be aware of your surroundings. Velix thought about this. His ears moved in different directions, a sign he was thinking hard. On my homeworld, my grandfather could predict storms 3 days before they arrived. He would taste the air, watch the small insects, listen to how leaves moved. Everyone said he was the best at finding danger. He was a hunter of information, Keiko said. And you have his skills. By the time the ship's night cycle began, the engineering team had found and fixed multiple small problems throughout the station. The food synthesizers would still take days to repair properly, but the crisis felt less urgent. Everyone had something to do, something to focus on besides fear and hunger. Velix walked Keiko back to her quarters. He was quiet for most of the walk, but his ears were relaxed now, moving gently instead of standing rigid with tension. Dr. Yamada, he said as they reached her door, thank you for your help today. You did most of the work, Keiko said truthfully. I just showed you that you already had the skills you needed. Still, Velix said, I was wrong about you. About humans. I thought hunting meant only violence. I thought predators only knew how to destroy. And now? Keiko asked gently. Now I think maybe predators and prey are not so different, Velix said. We all try to survive. We all use our minds. We all solve problems, Keiko smiled. That is a very wise observation. See, the alarm woke Keiko from a deep sleep. The sound was sharp and urgent, echoing through her quarters. Red lights flashed on the ceiling. She jumped from her bed and grabbed her jumpsuit, pulling it on quickly. Her door opened before she could reach it. Velix stood there, breathing hard. His fur was disheveled and his uniform looked hastily put on. Dr. Yamada, we need to move you to a secure location immediately. What is happening? Keiko asked, following him into the corridor. The creche, Velix said. His voice shook slightly. 3 of their warships just entered our sector. They are heading toward Harmony 7. Keiko's heart beat faster. She had read about the creche in her research. They were one of the few truly predatory species in this region of space. Unlike humans, they had never developed empathy for other species. They took what they wanted through force. The Concordance feared them above all others. How long until they arrive? Keiko asked. 4 hours, Velix said. Maybe less. The Council has ordered evacuation. We are preparing transport ships for all non-essential personnel. They reached a large room filled with activity. Dozens of aliens rushed back and forth carrying equipment and data pads. Some were crying. Others looked frozen with fear. Senior Officer Tharn stood at the center trying to organize the chaos. "All civilians to Docking Bay 3, Tharn called out. "Engineering staff, prepare to shut down non-critical systems. Security personnel, report to your stations." Keiko noticed that many of the security personnel looked terrified. Their hands shook as they checked their equipment. These were prey species who had never fought a real battle. Their weapons were designed for defending against accidents and malfunctions, not against an aggressive military force. "Commander Velix," Tharn said when he noticed them, "take Dr. Yamada to the first evacuation ship. She is a priority." "No," Keiko said firmly. Everyone nearby stopped and stared at her. "No?" Tharn's ears flattened. "Dr. Yamada, this is not a debate. You must evacuate." "I will evacuate with the last group," Keiko said. "But first let me help. I have knowledge that might be useful." "Help how?" Tharn asked. "This is a military situation." "The Kresh are predators," Keiko said. "I am also a predator. I might understand how they think." Tharn's feathers ruffled nervously. "That is exactly why you should leave. If you are similar to them, you might—" "I am not similar to them," Keiko interrupted gently. "But I understand predatory behavior. Please let me help." Tharn looked at Velix. "Commander, what do you think?" Velix was quiet for a moment. His ears moved in different directions, thinking. "Dr. Yamada has helped us before. She sees patterns we miss. Maybe she can help now too." "Fine," Tharn said. "But you stay with her at all times, Commander. Now both of you out of my way. I have 400 people to evacuate." Keiko and Velix moved to a quieter corner of the room. Velix pulled up a holographic display showing the approaching Kresh ships. They were large and dark, covered in armor plating. They looked designed to intimidate. "What do we know about the Kresh's intentions?" Keiko asked. "They sent one message," Velix said. He pressed a button and a harsh voice filled the air. The translator made it sound deep and aggressive. "Harmony 7, you are in violation of territorial agreements. Prepare to surrender the station for inspection." "But we are not in their territory," Velix said. "This sector has belonged to the Concordance for 20 years. They are lying." Keiko studied the ships on the display. "They are not here to inspect. They are here to take the station, probably to use as a forward base in Concordance space." "How do you know?" Velix asked. "Because they sent warships, not inspection vessels," Keiko said. "And they are approaching in an attack formation. They do not expect you to surrender. They expect you to run." "We are running," Velix said quietly. "That is what we always do." Keiko looked at him. His ears were flat, his shoulders slumped. He looked defeated before the battle even began. "Commander Velix," Keiko said softly, "may I tell you about Earth's rabbits?" Velix blinked in confusion. "What, now?" "On Earth there are animals very similar to your people," Keiko explained. "They are small. They are prey. Every predator on our world would gladly hunt them. Do you know what makes them successful? They run fast?" Velix guessed. "They do run fast," Keiko agreed. "But more than that, they survive because they are smart. They dig complex burrows with many exits. They freeze when danger comes, becoming invisible. They thump their feet to warn others. They are small and afraid. But they survive because they use their fear to make intelligent choices." "I do not see how that helps us now," Velix said. "Because the Kresh expect you to run in a straight line," Keiko said. "They expect you to be predictable. But what if you are not? What if you used your prey instincts not to run but to hide? To misdirect? To confuse?" Velix's ears lifted slightly. "What do you mean?" Keiko looked around the chaotic room. An idea was forming in her mind. "Commander, how many people are on this station?" 462, Velix said. "And how many can the evacuation ships carry?" "All of them if we use every available vessel," Velix said. "But the Kresh will arrive before the last ships can leave. The final groups will be caught. Then we do not evacuate everyone," Keiko said. Velix stared at her. "What?" "We make it look like everyone evacuated," Keiko explained. "We make the Kresh think the station is empty. While they are busy searching an abandoned station, our people are actually hiding in shielded areas. Then when Concordance reinforcements arrive, we retake the station." "Hide," Velix said. "Hide where?" "The Kresh have advanced sensors. Do you have sensor baffles?" Keiko asked. "Equipment that blocks scans." "Yes, for protecting sensitive research areas," Velix said. "But there are not enough to hide everyone." "We do not need to hide everyone," Keiko said. We hide most people in the baffled areas, but we also create false readings. We make it seem like life signs are moving through the station, heading toward the evacuation ships. We lead the creche on a chase through empty corridors while the real people stay hidden. Velix's eyes widened. That is actually clever. It is what prey do, Keiko said with a smile. You lead predators away from your burrow by making noise somewhere else. You make yourself look bigger than you are. You create confusion. But how do we create false life signs? Velix asked. Maintenance robots programmed to move in patterns, Keiko suggested. Heat generators placed in empty rooms. Automated doors opening and closing. Anything that makes the creche think people are there when they are not. For the first time since the alarm sounded, Velix's ears stood up with something other than fear. I need to talk to Tharn, now. They found the senior officer coordinating evacuation groups. When Velix explained Keiko's plan, Tharn's initial response was skeptical. This is too risky, Tharn said. If it fails, people will die. If we evacuate normally, the last ships will definitely be caught, Velix countered. The creche will capture or kill everyone on those ships. This plan gives everyone a chance, Tharn looked at Keiko. You understand predators. Will this work? The creche expect you to act like frightened prey, Keiko said. They expect a simple evacuation that they can easily intercept. This plan uses prey species strengths, hiding, creating confusion, and using your environment. It goes against their expectations. That gives you an advantage. Tharn was silent for a long moment. His feathers were completely still. Then he nodded. We try it. Commander Velix, you coordinate with engineering and security. Dr. Yamada, help him. I will continue the evacuation of non-essential personnel. We need to make the first ships leave normally so the creche think we are following the expected pattern. The next 3 hours were the most intense of Keiko's life. She and Velix worked with the engineering team to set up false sensor readings throughout the station. They programmed dozens of maintenance robots to move through corridors in patterns that mimicked fleeing personnel. They set up heat sources and electromagnetic signals in empty areas. They created a trail that would lead the creche away from the hidden civilians. Meanwhile, Tharn organized 300 people into the sensor-baffled research areas. These rooms were designed to block all scans, protecting sensitive experiments. Now they would protect lives. Velix proved to be invaluable. His natural Lepori instincts for creating burrow-like hiding places made him excellent at finding spaces the creche might overlook. He suggested using the station's recycling systems as additional hiding spots, places where life signs might be explained as biological waste processing. You are good at this, Keiko told him as they programmed the final robot patrol route. I am terrified, Velix admitted. His paws shook as he worked. I have never been so frightened in my life. But you are still working, Keiko said. You are still thinking. You are still protecting your people. That is what courage looks like, Commander. Velix looked at her. On your Earth, when prey animals are cornered, do they ever fight back? Sometimes, Keiko said. When they have no choice, even the gentlest creature will defend itself. But the smartest prey never let themselves get cornered in the first place. What we are doing now, Velix said slowly. This is how prey fights back. Not with weapons, but with intelligence. Yes, Keiko said. And sometimes that is the strongest weapon of all. An alarm chimed. The display at the command center was silent except for the soft beeping of monitors. Keiko and Velix watched the screens as the creche warships moved closer to Harmony 7. The ships were massive, easily 10 times the size of the station. Their dark hulls reflected no light, making them look like holes in space. They are hailing us, Velix said. His paw hovered over the communication controls. Should I answer? Yes, Keiko said. But remember, you want them to think everyone is evacuating. Sound frightened. Sound like you are stalling for time. Velix pressed the button. A face appeared on the main screen. The creche commander was terrifying to look at. His head was large and covered in dark scales. His eyes were yellow with vertical slits. His mouth was filled with sharp teeth. When he spoke, his voice was a low growl. This is Commander Shaketh of the Creche Empire. You are in violation of our territorial claims. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Velix's voice shook, and for once it was not entirely an act. This station belongs to the Galactic Concordance. We have done nothing wrong. Please, we are evacuating peacefully. Just let us leave. Shaketh's mouth opened in what might have been a smile. Evacuating? How convenient. We will board the station to ensure all dangerous materials are removed. Do not resist. The communication ended. On the screens, Keiko watched as smaller ships detached from the Kresh warships. These were boarding craft carrying soldiers to take the station. It is working, Velix whispered. They think we are running away. Phase 1 complete, Keiko said. Now comes the hard part. We need to make them think people are still here, still trying to escape. Start the robot patterns. Velix pressed several buttons. Throughout the station, maintenance robots began moving according to their programmed routes. On the Kresh sensors, these would appear as life signs moving toward the docking bays. The boarding craft attached to Harmony 7 with heavy thuds that echoed through the structure. Keiko watched on the monitors as airlocks opened and Kresh soldiers entered. They were huge, even bigger than their commander. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons that looked designed to destroy rather than stun. Sector 7, Velix reported, tracking their movements. They are heading toward the docking bays just as we predicted. The Kresh moved through the station with confidence. They were not afraid. They did not search carefully. They simply marched toward where they thought the prey was running. Keiko recognized this behavior. These were apex predators who had never learned to be cautious. They are passing the research areas, Velix said. His voice was tense. The sensor baffles are holding. They do not notice the hidden civilians. For 20 minutes, the plan worked perfectly. The Kresh followed the false sensor readings deeper into the station. They shouted orders to each other, expecting to find frightened prey around every corner. Instead, they found empty corridors and rooms. Then something changed. On the monitor, Keiko saw Commander Shaketh appear in one of the hallways. He stopped walking and tilted his head as if listening. Then he turned to one of his soldiers and growled something in their language that the translator did not catch. "What is he doing?" Velix asked. Keiko's heart sank. "I think he has realized something is wrong. He is too experienced. He has noticed that the sensor readings do not match what he is seeing." On the screen, Shaketh pulled out a device and began scanning the walls. The Kresh soldiers around him stopped their forward march and began spreading out, searching more carefully. "They are adapting," Keiko said. "We need to adapt too. Velix, can you create a new pattern? Something that looks like people panicking and running in random directions?" "I will try," Velix said. His paws moved quickly over the controls, reprogramming the robots and activating more false signals. But it was too late. Shaketh had found something. On the monitor, Keiko watched as he placed his device against a wall. The wall glowed red on his scanner. Behind that wall was one of the research areas where civilians were hiding. "He found the sensor baffles," Velix said. His voice was barely a whisper. "He knows." Shaketh smiled, showing all his teeth. He barked orders to his soldiers. They began moving toward other research areas, scanning walls as they went. "We have to do something," Velix said. He stood up, his entire body shaking. "We have to stop them." "Wait," Keiko said. She was thinking fast. "Velix, where is Shaketh right now?" "Sector 9, near Research Lab 3. "And where are his ships?" "Still in orbit around the station. Why?" "Because he is confident," Keiko said. "He brought most of his soldiers onto the station because he does not expect any resistance. His ships are not prepared for a fight." "So?" Velix said. "We have no weapons. We have no ships. We have nothing." "We have something," Keiko said. "We have the station itself. And we have the element of surprise. Shaketh thinks we are hiding prey. He does not expect the prey to bite back." "What are you suggesting?" Velix asked. "The station's defensive systems," Keiko said. "I saw them in the technical manuals. They are designed to protect against accidents, not military attacks. But they still have emergency protocols, correct?" "Yes," Velix said slowly. "We can seal sections. We can vent atmosphere. We can activate emergency force fields. But these are for accidents, not combat. But they will work on Kresh soldiers who are not expecting them," Keiko said. "We trap them in sealed sections. We cut off their communication with their ships. We make them afraid." Velix's ears stood straight up. "You want to hunt the hunters?" "Yes," Keiko said. "But we do it the prey way. We do not fight them directly. We use the environment. We make the station itself the weapon." For a moment, Velix did not move. He stood frozen, every instinct telling him to run and hide. Then something changed in his eyes. His fear was still there, but something else joined it. Determination. "Show me what to do," he said. They worked together at the control panels. Keiko identified which Kresh soldiers were most isolated from their groups. Velix activated emergency protocols to seal blast doors around them. One by one, Kresh soldiers found themselves trapped in sections of the station with no way out. Shaketh's confident growls turned to angry roars. He ordered his soldiers to break through the doors, but the blast doors were designed to withstand explosions. Even Kresh's strength could not break them quickly. "It is working," Velik said. His paws moved with increasing confidence across the controls. "We have isolated 17 soldiers, but Shaketh and his main group are still free in Sector 9. Then we deal with them directly," Keiko said. "Open a communication channel to Shaketh." "What? Why?" "Because predators respect shows of strength," Keiko said. "And right now we need to show him that we are not helpless prey." Velix opened the channel. Shaketh's face appeared on the screen, twisted with rage. "You dare attack Kresh soldiers?" he roared. "When I find you, I will tear you apart myself." "You will not find us," Velix said. His voice was stronger than Keiko had ever heard it. "You are in our territory now. You came here expecting frightened prey, but you found something different." "I found cowards hiding in walls," Shaketh snarled. "You found survivors," Velix corrected. "You are a warrior, Commander Shaketh. You have fought many battles. But have you ever fought prey that refused to run?" Shaketh's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about, little rabbit?" Velix stood up straighter. His body was still shaking, but his voice did not waver. "I am Commander Velix of the Lapori Defense Corps. This station is under my protection. You came here with superior weapons and superior numbers. But you forgot something important." "What?" Shaketh asked. He sounded genuinely curious now. "You are inside our burrow now," Velix said. "And in a burrow, the prey chooses the battlefield." Velix pressed a button. The lights in Sector 9 went dark. Emergency power only, barely enough to see. On the monitors, Keiko watched the Kresh soldiers raise their weapons nervously. They were in an unfamiliar place, suddenly surrounded by darkness. "You think darkness frightens us?" Shaketh called out, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. "I think being on unfamiliar ground frightens you," Velix said. "I think being separated from your ships frightens you. I think realizing that you walked into a trap frightens you. It was a bluff, mostly. They had no real weapons, no real way to harm the Kresh soldiers." But Shaketh did not know that. All he knew was that his easy conquest had become complicated. Keiko pulled up another display. "Velix Concordance ships are entering the sector. 3 warships coming fast. How long until they arrive?" Velix asked. 15 minutes. Velix opened the communication again. "Commander Shaketh, you have a choice. Leave now with your soldiers, and we will release the ones we captured, or stay and explain to the Concordance why you attacked a civilian station in their territory." Shaketh was silent for a long moment. On the monitor, Keiko could see him calculating. His soldiers were trapped and spread out. Concordance reinforcements were coming. The easy victory had become a potential disaster. "This is not over," Shaketh finally growled. "The Kresh Empire does not forget." "Neither do we," Velix said quietly. Shaketh barked orders. The Kresh soldiers began retreating toward their boarding craft. Velix released the sealed sections, allowing the trapped soldiers to rejoin their groups. Within 10 minutes, all Kresh personnel were off the station and heading back to their warships. 2 months had passed since the Kresh incident. Harmony 7 had been fully repaired and reinforced. The food synthesizers worked perfectly now. New defensive systems had been installed, designed by engineers who had learned to think like both predator and prey. Keiko stood in her quarters, packing her belongings into storage containers. Her mission had been extended 3 times already, but now Earth was calling her home. There was other work to do, other places where humans could help build bridges between different species. A chime sounded at her door. "Come in," Keiko called. Velix entered, wearing a new uniform. The silver marks on his collar had been replaced with gold ones. He had been promoted to senior commander after the incident. More importantly, the Galactic Concordance had asked him to lead a new program teaching defensive strategies to prey species throughout their territory. "Dr. Yamada," Velix said formally, "I wanted to speak with you before you depart." "Of course, Velix," Keiko said. She had long ago given up on making him use her first name. Some formality made him comfortable, and that was fine. Velix's ears twitched nervously. Even after 2 months, he still showed his emotions clearly. "The Concordance Council is meeting today. They are voting on whether to accept humanity's full membership." "I know," Keiko said. "I am supposed to receive the results before my ship leaves." "I am speaking at the meeting," Velix said. His voice was quiet. I wanted to tell you what I plan to say. You do not need my permission, Velix, Keiko said with a gentle smile. You can say whatever you think is right. I know, Velix said, but you taught me so much. I wanted you to know that I will honor that teaching. He pulled out a datapad and handed it to Keiko. On the screen was his prepared speech. Keiko read it slowly, her eyes moving down the page. As she read, she felt her throat tighten with emotion. The speech talked about fear and understanding. It talked about how prey species had spent so long running from predators that they had forgotten predators could be different. It talked about the difference between the Kresh and humans. It explained that humans were predators who had learned empathy, who valued cooperation over domination, who taught rather than conquered. But the most powerful part was personal. Velix wrote about his own journey from terror to trust. He wrote about learning to hunt problems instead of running from them. He wrote about discovering that courage came in many forms, and that sometimes the bravest thing was to face your fear and learn from it. This is beautiful, Velix, Keiko said softly. You have learned so much. Because you taught me, Velix said. His ears were flat, not from fear but from emotion. When you first arrived, I thought you were dangerous. I thought all predators were the same. But you showed me something different. You showed me that people are more than their instincts. You showed me something too, Keiko said. You showed me that prey species have their own kind of strength. You defended this station not with weapons but with intelligence and courage. You inspired your people to stand their ground. I was terrified, Velix admitted. I know, Keiko said, but you did it anyway. That is what makes you a leader. Velix looked down at his feet, clearly embarrassed by the praise. Will you come to the council meeting? To hear the vote? I would not miss it, Keiko said. The council chamber was enormous. It was circular, with seats rising up in tiers around a central platform. Representatives from dozens of prey species sat in those seats. Lepori, aviari, cervali, and many others Keiko had only read about. Some looked like prey animals from Earth: rabbits, birds, deer, mice. Others were completely alien, but all shared the same basic features. Large eyes positioned to see in many directions. Bodies built for speed and awareness rather than strength. Gentle features that had evolved for survival through caution. In the center of the chamber stood 3 senior counselors. The eldest was a cervali, an ancient being whose antler-like horns had grown long and complex with age. She rapped her staff on the floor and the chamber fell silent. We are gathered to vote on the petition from Earth, she announced. Her voice was strong despite her age. The humans request full membership in the Galactic Concordance. This is unprecedented. Never before has a predator species been granted membership. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some sounded frightened. Others sounded curious. Before we vote, the Cervali elder continued, we will hear from Senior Commander Velix of the Lepori Defense Corps. He spent the most time with the human representative. His testimony will inform our decision. Velix walked to the central platform. Keiko could see him shaking even from her seat in the gallery. His ears were flat against his head and his paws were clenched tightly. He looked up at hundreds of watching faces, all waiting to hear what he would say. For a moment he froze. Keiko could see the panic in his eyes. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Then their eyes met across the chamber. Keiko smiled at him and nodded, just the way she had nodded at nervous students before their first presentations. You can do this, her expression said. I believe in you. Velix took a deep breath. His ears lifted slightly. When he spoke, his voice was soft at first, but it grew stronger with each word. Honored council members, he began. 2 months ago I was afraid. When Dr. Keiko Yamada arrived at Harmony 7, I was convinced she would harm us. She is a predator. Her species hunted across their world. They ate meat. They had all the features we have been taught to fear. He paused, looking around the chamber. But I was wrong. Not about what she is, but about what that means. Dr. Yamada is a predator, yes. But she is also a teacher. She is also kind. She is also patient. She taught me that being a predator or being prey does not define who you are as a person. Some counselors were leaning forward now, listening intently. When the Kresh came to Harmony 7, Velix continued, I wanted to run. Every instinct told me to hide. And I did hide our people with Dr. Yamada's help. But she also taught me something else. She taught me that prey species have their own strengths. We observe, we adapt, we survive. We are not weak because we run. We are smart because we know when to run and when to stand firm. His voice was steady now, no longer shaking. The Kresh are predators. Humans are predators. But they are not the same. The Kresh take what they want through force. They respect only strength. Humans are different. They hunt with their minds, not just their bodies. They learn to survive by cooperation, not just domination. And most importantly, they respect other species. They see value in beings different from themselves. Velix looked directly at the three senior counselors. If we reject humanity's membership because we fear predators, we are saying that instinct is more important than choice. We are saying that what you are born as matters more than who you decide to be. Is that what the Concordance believes? The chamber was completely silent now. I believe humans belong in the Concordance, Velix said. His ears were standing straight up with conviction. Not despite being predators, but because they are predators who chose compassion. They prove that all species can grow beyond their basic nature, and if they can do that, perhaps we can grow beyond our fears. He stepped back from the platform. The chamber erupted in conversation. Some counselors were nodding. Others argued with their neighbors. The three senior counselors leaned together, speaking quietly. Finally, the Kervali elder stood. She raised her staff and silence fell again. The council will now vote, she announced. All in favor of granting Earth full membership in the Galactic Concordance? Lights began appearing in the chamber. Each counselor had a panel that would glow green for yes or red for no. Keiko watched as the lights appeared one by one. Green, red, green, green, red, green. The counting took 5 minutes. When it was done, the Servali elder looked at the results and smiled. By a vote of 73 to 27, Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Concordance. Welcome, humanity! The chamber exploded with sound. Some cheered. Some stamped their feet. A few looked unhappy, but even they seemed resigned to the decision. Keiko felt tears in her eyes. After so many months of work, of building trust, of teaching and learning, it had finally happened. Humanity had a place among the stars. After the meeting, Velix found Keiko in the corridor outside the chamber. His eyes were bright with excitement and his ears were standing up tall. We did it, he said. They voted yes. You did it, Keiko corrected. That speech was perfect. You spoke from your heart. I was so nervous, Velix admitted. When I first stood up there, I could not remember any of the words I had prepared. I froze completely. But then you found your voice, Keiko said. You spoke your truth. That is always more powerful than any prepared speech. Velix looked at her seriously. Dr. Yamada, will you come back to visit? After you return to Earth? Of course, the Keiko said. Someone needs to check on my star student. Velix's ears turned pink. I am not a student anymore. I am a senior commander now. You will always be my student, Keiko said warmly. Just like I will always be your teacher. That bond does not end just because we are apart. I have one more question, Velix said quietly. That day when I faced Commander Shaketh, when I tried to be brave and protect the station, did I really roar, or was I just a frightened child pretending?